my next installment to Road to Infinity War, and this is one of the ones, along with the Avengers, with Iron Man, with Winter Soldier. This is one of the ones where I've never been more excited to review a movie. We are talking about Captain America: Civil War. Oh my God. This movie is absolutely amazing. This movie is like how close this movie is to perfect is amazing. Because let me tell you this right now. Because I basically count this movie, even though there's jokes that this movie is an Avengers 2.5, I technically at most times just count this as Avengers 3. Because this is an Avengers movie. This whole entire movie revolves around the Avengers, but yet since it is technically reclassified as a Captain America movie, they somehow still make it that you can view it as an Avengers 2.5 or Avengers 3, but you can still think about it and watch it as a Captain America movie, and it would be perfect either way. That is a testament to how great the writing is, and that is a testament to how great the Russo brothers, who directed this movie, who came back from Winter Soldier, which was absolutely amazing, but they came in and they basically tackled their very own Avengers movie in the same exact way that they were able to capture perfectly in this movie to bounce all these characters. I cannot wait to see them transfer over for two actual Avengers movies. This is without a doubt one of the best Marvel movies ever put to film, and it is definitely one of the best comic book movies ever put to film, because this is without a doubt, this is a drama first, and this is a political thriller, because you have two of the biggest superheroes in the Marvel universe with Iron Man and Captain America, and this is classic when they have to decide and choose a side. Now, this storyline, the Civil War storyline, has a lot of emotional weight for me, because I remember that being the very first comic book series that I actually read. Like, the entire comic book series, I remember that was the very first time. That entire series, I love it so much. So, just not even touching on all the other stuff like Black Panther or Spider-Man, just them nailing these two characters in this movie was essential. Them nailing the fact of wanting you to both root for Iron Man and for Captain America. This was, the way they set this up was absolutely pitch perfect, with using Sokovia, using the incident in Lagos when Scarlet Witch contained Crossbones and he blew up a building. Perfect, because you get the character motivation from both of these characters, because you have Tony realizing that all they're avenging sometimes has casualties, and that having to come with the weight that, especially with that woman next to the elevator, who's gonna avenge my son, Stark? That scene in particular, it is the exact foundation to what superheroes all around comics and movies have to deal with, but they're never front and center like this, which is when it makes it perfect, because it makes this movie and it makes this world that Marvel has built even more real than it already seems like it could be. Because of course, this is exactly what will happen if they were, like General Ross says, if they were running around and no government backing them up, US based, and hence individuals who had no, who ignore sovereign borders and have no, just zero attention or care for what they leave behind. Nothing. And what would you call that? Other countries would call those mercenaries. Other countries would call them Black Ops teams. But to us, they're the Avengers. And this is the hard truth that we have to take. And this is the hard truth that all the heroes have to take. And that some will call them vigilantes. That is the perfect quintessential what a hero should always have to face. I love that. I love whenever any type of superhero medium tackles that, whether it's in comics or TV or in this case a movie. Whenever they do it, it can come off of just, this is a plot device or this is real. And in this movie, it is real. And you can feel it, because you have the Accords, which wants to delegate all the Avengers activity, and some of them Cap. Cap, I love Captain America in this movie because he believes that, to quote him, what if there's someplace we need to go? And what if there's somewhere we need to go and they don't let us? We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own. taking into account that yes, we know we're not perfect. Like even in the beginning where he's talking to Wanda, saying that people died. Like, okay, we can't have done anything about that. This job is we try and save as many people as we can. And if we can't find a way to live without that, maybe next time nobody gets saved. It is perfect. It is the perfect mindset for these characters to have to go through, and to see the Avengers get split into two, where you have basically Team Iron Man and Team Cap. And it's not like it's like, no, I love this, like I love Tony and I love Captain America. No, it's legit, and it's actually heartfelt. They each and every one of these characters has a specific reason for why. War Machine, he's not just saying that like I'm a team player, like I love Iron Man, like I'm Iron Man's buddy. No, he's saying that he knows that 190 or 80 nations signed this accord, and that, like, yeah, Colonel Ross does a Congressional Medal of Honor. That's one more than you have. He is in his mind that if it's the best interest, if the countries around the world, not just the country he served and he served for years, think that this is in the best interest, then he's gonna follow that because he is a soldier. When you have even Natasha, she knows she's gone up right to Capitol Hill, right to the government, and said, screw you guys, we're gonna do what we want, and you want to arrest us, come find us, we won't care. And yet even she has to agree with Tony that if we can still have one hand on the wheel, maybe we're not able to steer, but we have two, we're better. And that if we are just united instead of having them fracture us, we should do this, and that we need to gain their trust. That is perfect, because even if you can see her flip-flop in the end, but her initial decision is awesome, because it shows us that she's willing to change. She's willing to change because in this movie she's more concerned not just about how everyone views her and specifically, but how the Avengers are viewed, how her friends are viewed, and she wants to fix that. Whether it's the rest of the Avengers or Vision is just like even bringing up the fact that global catastrophes have come up because ever since the 8 years that Mr. Stark has renounced himself as Iron Man, he brings that up. And that gives us, like, even if he's an AI, it gives us, yeah, that's, like, there's no, like, reason, like, there is a causality for that. And then on Cap's side, Captain America is the quintessential noble person, and you can see him going against everything that we would think would be national. Like, we think, oh, if he's American or he's patriotic, he shouldn't even follow what the government says. No, he's going by what makes it to be free. And Sam agrees with that. Wanda agrees with that, because Wanda is the one who throughout this entire movie is feeling like she is being afraid, that she's afraid of what she can do. Everybody is afraid of her now. Everybody is afraid of her now. And it's not just that she's trying to, like, win their trust back. No, she's trying to prove that she's not dangerous, and that feeling that she's being oppressed for this is heartbreaking to her, and especially when she has to come to terms to having to take down Vision. And then you have Hawkeye, who just wants, even though you try getting out of it, he just jumps right back in. I love how they balance all these heroes together, because not only do you get all of their motivation, you get every single character seems like they're done justice. Even if you're someone like Ant-Man, who shows up like halfway through, like a quarter of the way through the movie, he still gets a great arc. I loved every single part about this movie. This movie is so heartfelt. This movie is so dramatically heartbreaking when it comes to the fact that, especially when it's just one-on-one scenes with Tony and Steve, a lot of it is just that. And when you think that, yes, this movie is awesome, it has some of the coolest fight scenes in all of human history, yeah, sure. But the core of this movie is the divide between the Avengers on whether is it right to have control, or is it right to be free, and the lines of crossing what is which. Like, I love this. I love this movie. This movie is amazing. Now, I'm gonna talk about some other things, not more or less talking about that, but if we do want to talk about action sequences, we have to talk about the airport scene. Before I mention, like, go deep into this airport scene, oh my god. The first action sequence with them in Lagos, awesome. Eventually culminating in Crossbones and Cap fighting, and then him blowing himself up, which starts this whole movie off great. Loved it. And then we get to, I believe the next one is, I love the whole chase in, I think it's Romania, where in Bucharest, where it starts out with Cap and Bucky fighting all the police, and then Black Panther shows up, and then it's a car chase, and then it turns into a Dude, awesome. Loved it. And then we get to the Berlin scene where like Bucky breaks out and like still that's one of my favorite scenes too. And we get the shot of freaking Captain America like pulling a helicopter out of the sky. I loved it. Now, we get to the airport battle. And dude, this is perfection. This is comic book perfection. Not only do we have all these heroes on screen, they're all fighting each other, and we get that splash page shot of all of them coming together. This is hands down, without a doubt. I've talked about scenes in movies that I just stop what I'm doing just to watch it, and this is it. This is one of them. This goes down in history with has to with all of the best Marvel, not just Marvel, but all of the best fight scenes, period. Because it's not like it's just one big giant fight and it's just bungling and everything's going together. Like, no, it's just, you have like many fights in between. You have Scarlet Witch saving everybody in the middle. And let's not even talk about that freaking Spider-Man shows up in the middle of it as Tom Holland Spider-Man shows up and do it. And everything is just throwing at you everywhere. And you just love it because you see all these characters and it's not like they're just blindly fighting and it's characters you don't care about. You have invested your time into these characters. You have invested at that point like 8 years of your lives just watching these characters and what they've done. And even if you just jump into this movie, you've invested the previous hour and like 30 minutes and you can still have the emotional weight because you can tell and you know what these people are fighting for. You know what their motivations are, and you know that each side is willing, some more than others, but each side is willing to fight and keep fighting for what they believe in. And that is great because this movie appeals to both sides, whether you chose Iron Man or whether you chose Captain America. It doesn't matter. You feel like your side is served on each side, and sometimes you might even want to flip-flop. That's how good this movie is. Now, with all that out of the way, this movie was a dream come true. Because ever since I was a kid, ever since I was tiny, I remember going to see Avengers in May and then knowing that there is an amazing Spider-Man movie coming out in, I believe, June or July 13th, one of those. And I remember thinking, why can't Spider-Man be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And I eventually grew up to love all of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, even though people give Amazing Spider-Man 2 crap. I will probably talk about this in another review, but I love that movie too. With that said, when I heard that they were canceling it, and then when you heard that Disney and Sony made a deal, they made a deal to have Spider-Man. It's just to have Spider-Man in a Marvel movie. And not only that, it's Civil War.
On the roof!
Hey everyone.
This movie has Spider-Man, and as a kid, that was something that I would never thought I'd ever see. I remember always thinking that as a kid, I would never see that. I would never see that until I was at least my dad's age. I never thought I would see that. And it happened, And I remember my eyes, I was like, it was instantly one of the biggest nerd out moments of my entire life. Because I remember watching this trailer. You all know the trailer, because one of my favorite moments ever in my entire nerdy life is knowing and seeing Spider-Man, just a picture of him with Captain America's shield. And I ran out during lunch and I snagged one of my friend's phones and I watched it in a bathroom. And I remember like just the entire trailer before was amazing because I loved all these characters, and then at the end of it, seeing Spider-Man being a long, die-hard Spider-Man all my entire life with Captain America's shield, it did it for me on so many levels. I could not have been more happy. And then seeing him in the movie, Tom Holland is amazing. Tom Holland is Spider-Man. And seeing him with this interaction with Tony and his line of, when you can do the things that I can and you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you. You would have never thought that they could come closer to matching the great power comes great responsibility line, but they did it. They didn't need to say it because the writers made Peter's motivation so great, and they set up this character amazing. This movie on so many levels was a movie I never thought I had ever seen. I would never see, because at this time when this movie was getting made, it was unclear whether we were going to get Spider-Man in this movie. It was unclear if even Robert Downey Jr. was going to do this movie, and we got it. And not only did we get all these other characters, we get Spider-Man. Like taking you back to three, like at this point, like 3, maybe 4 years ago. That would have never been happening. That would have just been like an afterthought. Like nobody would have ever thought of that. And just the fact that it happened was movie history. And the fact that I was able to see it, the fact that I was able, as a nerd, to see Spider-Man on screen in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie and making a Star Wars reference, that right there, that is, there's nothing else I can say about that that would make me more nerdy and giddy as a kid. And this movie is amazing, and just for that alone, instantly makes this one of the best Marvel movies and best superhero movies ever of all time. Now, there's another thing. Black Panther was introduced in this movie. Love T'Challa. T'Challa was awesome in this movie. So one of my favorite lines is, the Black Panther is a mantle passed from warrior to warrior. I now also hold the mantle of king. Now I both ask you as both warrior and king, how long can you keep your friends safe from me? Dude, that is Black Panther, yes! Okay, but switching over to that, Bucky Barnes' storyline gets fleshed out even more than it did in Winter Soldier, and this movie is all about him. Aside from the other storyline of the Avengers, it's all about Bucky and figuring out, Cap trying to figure out and find him because he's being framed by this guy named Zemo.
An empire toppled by its enemies can rise again, but one which crumbles from within, that's dead.
I actually really love Zemo as a villain because of one reason. Because in Batman vs. Superman, I love that movie and I will defend that movie to the day I die. But the one thing I've never liked about it was that how convoluted Lex Luthor's plan was, and that even though he wanted them to fight, he still had another contingency to kill them either way. I love, and it's so convoluted, I love that this movie made it a point to make sure that his plan, yes, it was an evil plan, yes, it did frame other stuff, it got people killed, but still, his plan was to make sure that the fight that was happening was between them. He wanted them to make sure that he was going to kill each other. He says more powerful men than me have tried, so he was going to get them to kill each other. That right there, that is perfect. You have no idea how disappointed I was when Bucky started talking about the other Winter Soldier. I was like, no, it was so good. Like, why would you give us this other different storyline? Like, now the conflict's going to be solved, and then they're going to have to go and all come together and stuff. Like, yes, like, but I wanted a Civil War movie where they all fought. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted them all at odds. No, that is not what I got. And there's no way that this movie could have been any better. There's no way this movie could have been any better because of that. Because of the whole, just one line. If I can get them to kill each other. Yes, Russos, you got it. And Bucky's storyline, when we see in the beginning with him just crashing his car, grabbing the super soldier serum, like, you're like, alright, that's cool, probably come up in the late. In the end, where it seems like Captain America and Bucky go out to go find this other facility to try and track down and kill all these super soldiers before they take down a country, and then Iron Man is actually switched sides and he's back on Captain America's side. And this tension in this scene where Zemo is showing Tony Stark and Captain America the video of Bucky Barnes murdering his parents. The emotional weight that this scene has, and I remember it being one of the most intense theater experiences I've ever had, because you're just sitting there in awe, and like Captain America looking over, and you see Bucky and his conviction, and then you see Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. was absolutely amazing in this scene, and you see him choking up, and you see like the regret and the betrayal just in his head, and having to watch his own parents die again after mourning them for years. And then with the line of, did you know? Like, don't bull crap me, Roberts, did you know? And then the betrayal when he's like, yes. And the fact that at this moment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you were Cap or Iron Man. You know that as a character, Iron Man, you're rooting for him. You're rooting for him. You're like, yes. And then with like Cap being the voice of reason, he didn't know. And he's like, and I think this is perfectly summed up in one line.
I don't care. He killed my mom.
Like, dude, like this entire end fight sequence is amazing. Where not just for the action, but what's important about this scene is the dramatic and emotional weight it has. Because we would not, if this scene was not perfectly crafted for us to emotionally care for Tony in this moment, it would have zero weight. It would not work as well as it does. And it does, and it works beautifully. Having to have and see them truly going out for blood. Cap is just at this point in the way. He's in the way, and Tony does not care. He is gonna kill him, and he's gonna kill Bucky slowly, and he's gonna do it. And throughout this entire sequence, whether it's all of them fighting and Cap and Bucky double teaming him, and then to the point where Cap is on the ground and Iron Man has got the one up on him, and he's about to tell him like he's my friend, so was I. And then one of my favorite shots in this movie where he says, "Stand down, final warning," and then Cap gets up and he does the classic, "I can do this all day." It's a Marvel fan, yes! And then he just knocks him back down. And he knocks him back down. I love this because in the end, you would think that Cap is gonna murder him and that Cap is just gonna go out for blood, and no, he stabs his shield right in the arc reactor. And then Tony like realizes that and then he's just talking crap to him at that point, like, "My father made that shield," and he drops the shield. And then you really see that at the end of this movie, Tony is more alone than he could have ever been. He feels more alone than he ever was. He even goes back to the Avengers facility, and you can tell and you can see that he is alone because he feels so betrayed. Every single character got every single character did not get shortchanged. Every single character got their own unique storyline. It was freaking perfection, man. I could not overestimate how just amazing this movie is and what this movie did for just the Marvel Universe and what it's gonna probably do for years and years to come. Whether it's just the achievements of getting Spider-Man back, whether it's just the achievements of perfectly crafting a story where you have two heroes have perfect motivation to want to go out for blood for each other, and you can clearly root for one and root for the other, and you wouldn't be wrong. This movie is hands down one of the best Marvel movies of all time, and definitely goes down in one of the best superhero movies ever made. I've been talking about this movie for so long, but this movie deserved a 25-minute video, and I'm gonna say now that this is seriously one of the best, like maybe top 3, top 2. I don't know. It's gonna change when I rank this movie, but that was my review for Captain America: Civil War. This is instantly, the moment I saw it, one of the best. And I think the Russo brothers made this movie to perfection, and it just gives me nothing but confidence going into Infinity War. I'll see you guys next time.